Hi, this is Tyler for BleepinJeep.com. This is going to be part 2 of our vacuum disconnect override kit. If you haven't seen part 1, you need to go back and watch that first so that you can get your fork assembly down to this point. If you have seen part 1, then let's get right to it. I'll show you how to put this together, get it back in the Jeep, and get your four-wheel drive back. Alright guys, so just a quick overview. Essentially what we're going to do is we're going to thread the factory housing. That's so this fitting, which I believe is a propane fitting, can screw into the housing. We're going to modify this fitting a little bit with this by reaming this hole so that this shift rail will slide down inside it. We're going to reinsert that with the shift fork, and then when we reinstall our E-clips, that'll hold the shift fork on the shaft, and as we screw in this fitting, it's going to force that shift fork over into the four-wheel drive position. And that'll give you your four-wheel drive back.
Okay, we're back over to our vise. I got the housing chucked up in the vise. Now this housing is just cast aluminum, so don't chuck it up really tight. You could actually crush or crack this in the vise. You're just basically wanting it held snug there. Now we're gonna thread this hole. We're gonna tap it. But I want to show you you're gonna have to have a pipe thread tap, not a regular tap like you would use to tap for a bolt. I just picked this up at my local hardware store, and this was the most expensive thing of the whole job. I mean, this was like a $9 tool, but you know, if you went to a big box store, you can probably get it for considerably less than that. We're quite rural here, so my options were limited. I had to pay basically what they were asking, but you could probably pick this tool up for $3 or $4 at a big box store. But it's a tap 3/8 18 pitch pipe. Just got to make sure you get pipe. So we're going to go ahead and thread this hole. And I like to put a little bit of some kind of a lubricant in there just to make it cut a little bit easier. You want to make sure you get square in the hole. And this aluminum is quite soft, so it cuts quite nicely. Now, pipe threads are tapered, so you want to run this tap all the way in, just like that. I'm going to go ahead and clean out all the little bits, chips of metal out of those threads, and then we'll test fit that plug, make sure it's going to fit. Okay, I got the housing all cleaned up, got the threads cleaned out. So this is, when you notice on the final install, the fitting that I use is going to be a little bit different than this. It's just because it's what I had on the shelf at the time. I went down to the hardware store and picked this up. This actually simplifies it even further. And this is a 3/8 hex HD plug. And you can see it's already got a little bit of a hole drilled in it. We're going to enlarge that to 3/8 of an inch so that this will actually go inside of it. But threads in there pretty good. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to determine how long to make this shaft, and then we're going to trim it off. So first thing we need to do though is we need to open up that plug a little bit so that will slide inside of it. Okay, so I've got this fitting chucked up in my vise on my drill press here. The main thing is we want to make sure we don't drill too deep, because if you drill right on through the head of the bolt, then you've pretty much ruined the fitting. You got to get a new fitting. So Gonna bring this down in and just ream this hole real carefully, not take it any deeper, and then we'll test fit it and make sure that that shaft is going to slide in and out of there. Okay, I think we hit bottom there. Let's see. Perfect. It's exactly what we want. Is it doesn't have to be a super duper snug fit. That's perfect. That's a 3/8 inch. So I've reinstalled the plug, and basically what we're going to do now is we're going to measure and set this. We're going to set this up so that we trim this at the right length, so that when we put that plug in, the plug holds it snugly. If we cut it off just about flush with the top of this, we'll leave it a little bit long so that we can shorten it if we need to. If we cut it too short, then we're in a bad, it ruins the shaft. So we'll cut it a little bit long and do a test fit. Okay, so I've trimmed that a little bit more with my grinder, and then I also rounded the edge just so it would fit in that little pocket a little better. I'm going to go ahead and do just a final test fit here. Make sure that this fits perfect. So I'm bottomed out just about against the housing there. I've lined up good here. There's no play in it. When I get that shift fork on there, it's absolutely going to stay stationary. So I'm happy with that. So we'll start putting it back together. If I'm going to lube this just a little bit, make this go together a little easier. If you remember now, the shift fork has to go in that way, curvature away from where the diaphragm used to be. The old gasket goes to the outside. So we're going to put that in, slide the shift fork on, like that. Going to go ahead and move that shift fork all the way to that side there. And then we're going to put this larger of the two E-clips. We're going to put this one back on that shaft. Okay, so that one's on. Now we can push this fork all the way over and grab the smaller of the two E-clips. There we go. Okay, this big one we don't need because we're not reusing that part of the housing. So we'll put that in as far as it'll go. I'm going to put a little Teflon tape, plumber's tape on this fitting. Good and snug. Okay, that's it. It's done. Now we just do the reinstall, and I'll show you that here in just a second. Okay, so I hope you guys can see this collar right here. So when you're normally in two-wheel drive, it sits over here to the. Let me see if I can get a better angle on that. It sits over here to the right side of the vehicle. And you can see then this inner axle is able to spool freely. So what we want this to be slid over to engage that axle. And that's the other reason why I've taken this tire off over here, is now I can rotate this axle just a little bit until I can get that collar to line up. So I'm going to go ahead and need two hands for that. Just like that. Okay, now I'm going to reinsert that shift fork check my seal, make sure my cork gasket, and I'm probably going to want to put some RTV on that and seal that better, so I'll go get some of that. Okay, gonna go ahead and slide this shift fork in there. Brass fitting goes to this direction just like the vacuum lines did, and we're just gonna line it up on that collar, line up our holes, and put our bolt back in. So I came in the engine compartment. You can see right down there next to the frame rail, that's where the vacuum lines go from this plastic manifold deal here. They go into a hard line, and then they come up the side of the body right here on the right side of the engine compartment. And the white one looks like it comes over to, this is probably the switch that tells you the 4x4 indicator that's on the dash, so we're not going to need that. And then the yellow and green, or this yellow and white, if you follow them up, actually, I pulled the harness apart here. The white and the yellow have a splitter right here, so really this yellow and this green are all we need to cap. So I'm going to go ahead and just clip them right back here and put a vacuum hose nipple on them to seal them off. Get all this crap out of here. Get it out of the engine compartment. It doesn't want to come off very good though. Come on, sugar. Ah. There we go. And then I'll go ahead and I'll put this back on just to protect those other lines, because I'm not really sure what those go to. One thing I've discovered about these Renix motors is they have a lot of vacuum lines. So that's it. That's the full install. Don't forget to subscribe, and don't forget to go visit BleepinJeep.com for great t-shirts and other how-to videos. Matt does a great job on the site, so check it out. Thanks.